Hello, American government students. In a couple weeks, actually within a week or two, we will be declaring our political parties, and you will declare yourself as a Republican, a Democrat, or an Independent. In order to do that, I want you to know a little bit more about what political parties are, what their purpose is, and what their stances are in our modern day politics today. So, if you have the note sheet, I would recommend getting that out and taking a few notes as we go through the presentation today. All right, let's start with what is a political party. In general, a political party is a group of people with the same or similar political beliefs. Not all Democrats agree on every single issue. Not all Republicans agree on every single issue. But the purpose of political parties is to understand that there's power in numbers. That if you get people to work together for a common overall cause with the same general direction of where they would like the country to go, that they will be able to get more done, be more powerful together, and achieve the type of country that they would like to see in the future. Constitutions, political parties, in a way, have always existed in the United States. They have changed over time. We have had different names of political parties. We have had them switch from being more liberal to more conservative. It's even changed what it means to be more liberal and what it means to be more conservative throughout history. But really, we started to see the division of political parties or the creation of political parties way back when we were looking to repeal the Articles of Confederation and replace it with the Constitution. During this time period, there were two main groups who were fighting: the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. And during that time period, they were trying to decide, what is this new government going to look like? What is this new constitution going to look like? The Federalists wanted the federal government to have more power. The Anti-Federalists wanted the states to have more power. And after a lot of debate, discussion, and compromise, the two sides agreed on our current constitution, where the states get some power, the federal government gets some power, and some of their powers overlap. Eventually, what developed was a two-party system in the United States. Our first president, George Washington, saw this coming. And as president, he didn't want political parties to overtake our political landscape. And in fact, during his farewell speech, he warned against political factions or political parties and said that eventually they would divide our country, that it would slow down our government, and that it would not be good for our future. Some of you may think he was right. Some of you may think he was not right. But here we are. We have political parties today. We have the Democrats and we have the Republicans. Just so you know, the Republicans in general are marked by the Republican elephant, and their color is red. So when you see the elephant, or if you see red during political seasons, that represents the Republicans. The Democrats are represented by the donkey, or the jackass, which is kind of how it came to be. During Andrew Jackson's election against John Quincy Adams in 1828, I believe, newspapers were mocking Andrew Jackson, calling him a jackass. And instead of getting angry, he accepted it, and it became the Democratic Party's symbol. They are represented by the color blue. So when you see blue or the donkey, think Democrats. All right, so what function do they play? What is the purpose of these two parties? First off, number one, they want to push an agenda. And in order to push an agenda in our country, you have to have representation in the government. So the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, tries to nominate candidates for public office, all the way from the local level, county sheriffs, school board members, village board, to the state level, state assembly, state senate, governorships, attorney generals, all the way up to the federal level, U.S. senators, U.S. members of the House of Representatives, and the presidency. If they can get people elected, if they can nominate those candidates that they see fit, that will follow their goals, if they can get them elected into office, these officials will then be able to achieve the goals of their party through legislation and initiatives throughout the government. So that's really their purpose. That's why they exist. There's power in numbers. There's other reasons as well. Political parties exist to represent the interests of special interest groups. They represent groups as well as individuals. Some interest groups have special concerns. For example, the teachers union, the National Teachers Union, oftentimes is represented by the Democratic Party. They are donors to the Democratic Party, and they believe that the Democratic Party will most likely meet what they see as the goal for education, and because of that, they support the Democratic Party. On the other hand, a group like the NRA, the National Rifle Association, would support the Republican Party because the Republican Party in general supports Second Amendment rights, and they believe that they will help them to keep their rights. So these parties oftentimes are seen as representing these special interests. They simplify choice for voters. It's easier to go into the ballot box to see an R by somebody's name for Republican or to see a D by somebody's name for Democrat and to know sort of what you're getting into. I would not suggest ever relying solely on seeing that D or seeing that R, but it gives you a good starting point. You know what they stand for. You know what their values are. You know who supports them. And lastly, to make and promote public policy, to make laws that fit what the Democrats want, to make laws that fit what the Republicans want. And the parties do this, and they do it not only for the now, but for the future. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between the two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. First off, let's talk Republicans. In general, Republicans are on the right side of the political spectrum. They're conservatives. You can have a very conservative Republican. You could have a moderately conservative Republican. You could even have Republicans that in some cases are liberal, right? Maybe they agree that the LGBT community should have more rights. They could still be a Republican and have those rights. Same thing with the Democrats when we talk about them. You can cross the aisle, but in general, your overall political philosophy will side more with the Republican Party than it does the Democratic Party. Usually, people choose one party or the other rather than being an independent. You have more power. You have more say in the government. You have more opportunity to pass what you want. Being an independent in our two-party system is incredibly difficult. That's why we see mostly Democrats and mostly Republicans winning public office elections. So the more conservative party, they believe that small government is better, that the less government we have, the more people will be able to make their own choices and be responsible for their own lives. They also believe that their policies, their laws, should have more traditional American values, which is what most conservatives believe as well. Then we have the Democratic Party. They're to the left side of the spectrum. They tend to be more liberal, but again, we can have more liberal Democrats. We can have more moderate Democrats. You can have some Democrats that believe in Second Amendment rights. You can have Democrats that are pro-life. But in general, they believe that their views, their philosophy, will be better served by the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. In general, Democrats, as the liberal party, believe in more governmental systems, that more governmental systems are better, that the more government gets involved, the more protection they can provide to individual citizens, such as welfare, such as healthcare, and other things that can help people in hard times. They focus on shared responsibility and community, that if we are a bunch of citizens, one nation, right, together, that we should help each other out in times of need. And if we have more to give, that it should be expected of us to give that through the government. In general, their policies are more progressive, meaning they want to change. They want to look towards the future. They want to change as society changes and have government follow along. We're seeing the Democratic Party move further to the left. We're seeing the Republican Party moved further to the right in recent years. But there's still those moderates. And there's kind of, in both parties, a fight for what is the future of these parties going to look like. This was the 2016 presidential election, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. You can see a little bit about each of the states. Red states were won by Trump. Blue states were won by Hillary Clinton. A number of states here were huge wins for President Trump and allowed him to win the presidency in 2016. States like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Illinois, well, those states that I just mentioned were ones that Trump won that were swing states. For example, Wisconsin voted for Obama both times and then turned red and voted for Trump. We call those swing states because they are up in the air for either candidate to grab. And again, in the 2020 election, these states will be incredibly important. Other swing states could be Minnesota. Sometimes Texas is looking to maybe be a new swing state. They've been voting red for a long time, but they're getting closer to turning purple, which is what we call if they're a swing state. Florida can be a big swing state. Ohio is a huge, really important state to winning federal elections. We do have a two-party system in this country. We see these two parties on the debate stages. We see these two parties being represented in Congress. But we have a lot of third parties as well. People who represent other interests, and we'll spend some time talking about them. But there are a ton of them. Some of the most notable would be the Libertarian Party and the Green Party. But there are a ton of other ones. We have the American Freedom Party. We have the Constitution Party. We have the U.S. Pacifist Party. We the People Party. The Light Party. The Independence Party of America. The Jeffersonian Party. And it goes on forever. And a lot of these people will run for office, but it's more to push their issues than actually get elected. Because in this country, the Democrats and the Republicans of the two-party system truly have the power. And because of that system, if you would like to make change, if you would like to have power and see laws happen, you almost have to find a way to work within those two parties. Hey, we'll talk more about all these parties in a bit. We'll talk about their political party platforms, which is basically what is their game plan, what is their playbook for the party. Every party has a platform, and we will continue to look into those. We'll look at the Democratic platform, we'll look at the Republican platform, we'll look at the Green Party platform, and the Libertarian Party platform. These are updated every 4 years when there's a presidential election, and it's essentially the playbook for all members of the party to have a kind of an established goal of what our party is working towards. We'll talk more about that in upcoming classes, and we'll also be declaring our parties in upcoming classes. Have a great day. We'll see you later.